You know that feeling when your stomach drops? Not like the first hill of a roller coaster, more like the elevator cable just snapped and you're staring up at the ceiling? That's the feeling I got the moment I looked at my phone and realized I hadn't sent that very personal selfie to my girlfriend. Oh no, I'd sent it to the corporate all-hands group chat. All 87 people, including my CEO, my direct manager, and the notoriously judgmental HR director, Brenda. This isn't just a "today I fucked up" story. This is the story of how a single rogue JPEG brought an entire company to its knees, and why I spent the next 48 hours hiding under my duvet praying for a meteor strike. Before we dive headfirst into the abyss of my professional humiliation, do me a huge favor. If you're loving these stories of cringe, chaos, and sweet, sweet Reddit justice, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like. It helps YouTube know you want more tales of human error. And seriously, drop a comment below. Have you ever accidentally sent a deeply personal text to the wrong person? Tell me your story. It might just make me feel slightly less alone in my shame. Okay, deep breath. Let's get back to the worst Monday morning of my career. My name is Alex, and until 2 weeks ago, I was a perfectly unremarkable mid-level marketing coordinator at a mid-sized tech company. We designed smart home security systems. Ironic, I know. I had a good job, a good salary, and what I thought was an ironclad firewall between my professional life and my private life. Turns out, all it takes is a sleepy Monday morning and a finger that moves about 3 millimeters too quickly. It was Sunday night, and my girlfriend, Chloe, was out of town. I'd just come out of the shower, feeling confident, and I decided to take a quick photo for Chloe. Just a little thinking of you moment. A classic mirror selfie, maybe slightly artistic, but definitely for Chloe, and only Chloe. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera, snapped the picture, and opened the messaging app. This is where my brain apparently decided to take a small 1-second vacation. On my phone, the 3 most recent conversations were Chloe, Steve, private work chat, and the dreaded Echo Team, all hands, the corporate group chat with its 87 members. I clicked on the first chat icon I saw. It was the one with the most recent activity. The corporate group that had been buzzing all weekend about a server outage. My fingers were operating purely on muscle memory, fueled by residual sleepiness. I selected the photo, typed a quick caption that thankfully was just a line of emojis, a blushing face, a winky face, and a heart, and hit send. The moment the little sent confirmation popped up, I blinked, and the name at the top of the chat window finally registered. It wasn't Chloe, it was Echo Team, all hands. My blood turned to ice water. My mind went into hyperdrive. Delete it now. I frantically mashed the message, selecting the delete for everyone option. But here's the thing about group chats with 87 people. Someone is always looking at their phone. I managed to delete the image, but the message history leaves a damning, ghostly trail. Instead of the picture, the chat now displayed 2 terrifying lines of text, essentially screaming, "Alex sent something that should not have been seen by human eyes," and then tried to obliterate all evidence. The sound of my phone buzzing brought me back. It was Steve, my direct colleague, from our private chat. His first message was a simple yet loaded, "You okay, man?" Followed by, "That was quite the start to the week." He confirmed my worst fear. Yes, he had seen it. He hadn't sent it on, but he had definitely seen it. Then the corporate chat started to move. The official replies began trickling in. Not words, but emojis. First, 3 laughing faces. Then a single solemn red-faced emoji from a senior VP in sales. Then a highly inappropriate peach emoji, followed by a fire emoji posted by Kevin from finance. Kevin was 58. I wanted the earth to swallow me whole. The only way out was forward. I typed an immediate all-caps apology into the Echo Team chat. "Sincerest apologies. That was sent to the wrong chat. Huge, humiliating mistake. Please delete it immediately. Apologies to everyone." That message sent to 87 people just validated what everyone knew. At 8:15 a.m., the official corporate machine moved. The email arrived. It was addressed only to me. The subject line was chillingly formal. Mishap on internal communication platform. Immediate action required. It was from Brenda, the HR director. Please report immediately to my office, room 402. Do not log into your desktop and do not initiate any further communication on any internal channels until we have spoken. I drove to the office, feeling like I was driving to my own professional execution. When I walked into the usually buzzing open-plan office, the typing had stopped. Every head suddenly turned towards the elevator bank. I felt every eye on my back as I made the walk of shame across the floor. Brenda's office was cold and sterile. Please have a seat, Alex. We both know why you are here. I mumbled my apology, explaining the accident, the early hour, the wrong chat. She didn't look angry, just clinically disappointed. Alex, this is about what was sent and where it was sent. This content falls under the umbrella of explicit content and was distributed to 87 of your colleagues. Do you understand the severity? The policy violation is absolute. I signed the formal letter of reprimand. It detailed the offense without ever describing the photo, calling it only a non-work-related personal image. The verdict was delivered. 2 weeks unpaid administrative leave, effective immediately. Access revoked. Any further policy violation would mean immediate termination. Security escorted me to my desk to collect my personal effects. I was escorted out of the building. The damage was done. The 2 weeks of leave were pure torture. The story went completely viral inside the company. I found out the photo had been screenshotted. It was being referred to as the Monday memo. Steve was my lifeline, texting me updates. He told me the office was holding mandatory digital etiquette training taught by a visibly strained Brenda. When I finally returned, the silence was different. It was the polite silence of people trying very hard not to stare. I opened my chat app. 43 new private messages. I braced. To my shock, they were mostly sympathetic. Mark from Logistics told me to focus on my Q3 report. Maria from Design offered me coffee. My mistake was so catastrophic, it had actually humanized me. The CEO, Mr. Thompson, even stopped by my desk. He leaned in and said, "Alex, you owned it, you apologized, you took the punishment. That shows character." He added, "You embarrassed yourself, but you also showed everyone you're a human being. Now go sell some smart security systems." The shame was there, but it was being tempered by an unexpected wave of professional and sometimes inappropriate respect. I learned a brutal lesson. Every time I open a messaging app now, I check the recipient field 3 times. Every single time. The trauma is real. So, that was the story of how I became an accidental corporate exhibitionist. It was the lowest point of my working life, but hey, I survived. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there, especially in the group chats. If my first story was about personal shame, this one is about professional, calculated corporate sabotage, delivered with a smile. This is the time my boss told me to follow every single rule in the book, and as a result, he personally cost the company a $500,000 client. My name is Mark, and I used to be a logistics analyst for a large, frustratingly bureaucratic distribution company. We handled massive shipping contracts. Now, our company had an operational manual thicker than a phone book, filled with rules written in 1998 for software we decommissioned in 2005. Everyone ignored about 80% of it, especially the parts about 3-stage data verification and managerial sign-off required for any change exceeding $5. We used common sense and fast solutions to keep the clients happy. My direct manager, let's call him Gary, was a petty tyrant. He lived and breathed the rule book, even though he ignored it when it suited him. One Tuesday, I cut a minor corner. I approved an urgent overnight shipment without waiting for the mandatory 24-hour review period, saving a client $10,000 and keeping them happy. Gary found out. He called me into his office, face red. "Mark, you were playing fast and loose with company procedures. You have undermined the entire system. From now on, I want you to work strictly by the book. Every rule, every step, no shortcuts. If the manual says it, you do it. Is that absolutely clear?" He was trying to make my life miserable by forcing me to slow down. But Gary had just given me a professional license to commit malicious compliance. He gave me the order to follow every rule, and I decided to follow it to the absolute catastrophic letter. The first step was the biggest headache, our primary client, Global Tech. They had a $500,000 yearly contract and an urgent order for server components that needed to ship that day. Usually, I could get this done in an hour. Under the new rules, it took 2 full days. First, I had to initiate the mandatory pre-shipment data integrity check. This involved running the data through 3 separate legacy software systems that constantly timed out. This step alone took 3 hours, complete with mandatory reboots. Then came the 3-stage managerial sign-off. Gary was the only one authorized to do it. Every time I brought him the stack of forms, he was in a meeting or on the phone. I would wait patiently, just standing right by his door, as the manual suggested for time-sensitive documents. The client, Global Tech, started calling. "Mark, where's the tracking number? We need these components yesterday." "I apologize, sir," I would say, using my best corporate voice. "I am currently adhering to the new, strictly enforced pre-authorization protocol, which requires managerial review at 3 distinct phases before we can physically move product." Gary was getting furious. He knew I was following his ridiculous orders, but he couldn't stop me without admitting the rules were idiotic. He tried to speed things up, but I held firm. "Gary, the manual states you must review the physical hard copy for all 3 phases separately. I cannot combine them. That would be a shortcut, and you ordered me no shortcuts." The tipping point came on Friday morning. The Global Tech VP called Gary directly, screaming. Their production line was entirely stopped because our protocol was preventing a rush delivery. Gary stormed over to my desk, practically vibrating with rage. "Mark, get that shipment out now! Override the system!" "I'd be happy to, Gary," I replied calmly, "but according to Section 4, Paragraph 7 of the Integrity Manual, overriding a triple sign-off system requires the CEO's direct signature and an email notification to the entire compliance department. Do you want me to escalate that to the CEO right now? It will cause a massive internal audit." Gary knew that bringing the CEO into this would expose his own incompetence in setting the follow every rule order. He stood there, defeated. The final call came an hour later. Global Tech had pulled their contract. They went to a competitor who could ship components in less than 3 hours, not 3 days. The $500,000 contract was gone. Gary's face was the color of old milk. He avoided me for the rest of the day. The next week, the only change made was a single line added to the internal procedures memo written by Gary himself. Managers reserve the right to explicitly waive specific procedures for efficiency. Common sense is encouraged. He never mentioned following every rule again. And I got to watch him explain to the CEO why a legacy procedure from 1998 had cost the company its second biggest client. Sometimes sticking strictly to the rules is the most satisfying way to win. If the first 2 stories proved that technology is our enemy, this final one confirms that sometimes our own emotional processing is the true source of chaos. This is about the time I decided to write the most detailed, dramatic, and emotionally devastating breakup letter in history, and then accidentally sent it to everyone I knew. It was a tough time. I had been dating my girlfriend Sarah for 2 years, and things were clearly fizzling out. It was going to be a rough breakup, and I needed to gather my thoughts. I'm a writer, a person who processes things by putting them down on paper. So I decided to draft an extremely long, raw, and brutally honest letter detailing every single frustration, every tiny misunderstanding, and every passive-aggressive comment made over the last 2 years. The plan was to write it, edit it, cut it down to a few gentle paragraphs, and then send it to Sarah. The draft was a masterpiece of emotional outpouring. It was 4 pages long. It discussed her irritating habit of leaving one single sip of water in every glass, her mother's slightly creepy obsession with my career prospects, and my deep-seated regret over a trip we took to a terrible theme park. It was the full, unfiltered rant, the one you write but never send. The full, I need to get this out of my system version. I finished it around midnight, utterly exhausted. I was using my phone's Notes app, but I needed to transfer it to my computer to start editing. The easiest way to move large blocks of text between devices is often through a messaging app, just by creating a quick private group with yourself. I copied the text, all 4 pages of it. I opened my messaging app, ready to start a new chat called Notes, but my finger, tired and betraying me, clicked on the wrong recipient. It wasn't the private chat. It was the Legends group chat, my most active high-volume group chat with all my closest friends. And crucially, it included Tom, who was not only my best friend, but also Sarah's older brother. I pasted the 4 pages of emotional dynamite, glanced up, saw the name, and immediately hit send. The moment I saw the words Legends Group Chat above that enormous block of text, I felt the exact same familiar paralyzing dread from the first time I accidentally bared all to my office. But this was worse. This wasn't professional shame. This was social, familial, and emotional obliteration. I frantically mashed the delete button. But unlike the corporate chat, this was a smaller, tighter group of night owls. The replies started before I could get to the 3rd paragraph of the delete. First, an incomprehensible string of laughing, crying emojis from my friend Dave. Then a simple, terrifying text from Tom, Sarah's brother. Dude, is this the whole thing? All 4 pages? My attempt to delete the message only stopped the latter half. The first 2 full pages detailing the end of my relationship and every single thing that annoyed me about his family were permanently broadcast. The next morning was hell. Tom called me first. He wasn't angry, he was just disappointed and deeply uncomfortable. Alex, I love you, man, but this is messy. You just sent me a manifesto about how much you hate the theme park we went to with my mom. He didn't even mention his sister, which was somehow worse. The general consensus from the group was overwhelming pity mixed with morbid fascination. They spent the next 2 days dissecting my overly dramatic prose. My friend Mike kept quoting the line about the single sip of water in every glass. I had become a meme for my own friends. The worst was yet to come. I had to actually break up with Sarah, knowing she would find out about the manifesto from her brother. I met her at a coffee shop. I apologized profusely and explained the accidental send. She didn't cry. She just stared at me. She said, Tom showed me the first 2 pages. Alex, you wrote an entire chapter about my mom's interest in your job. Why didn't you just talk to me? The raw honesty of the draft, though accidental, was too much. The cleanup was worse than the initial breakup. The relationship ended, not with a sad, gentle conversation, but with a horrifying accidental overshare. I lost the relationship, and I gained a permanent group chat joke. Now, anytime I type anything long, a friend will chime in with, "Is that a draft or is that going to the group?" The shame never dies.